Hey everyone, what's up? This is Simon from the Ionic Academy. In this quick one, I will show you how you can easily access your native calendar of your device on iOS and Android. So let's get started. I've created a blank new Ionic app, and first of all, we need the Cordova plugin for the calendar. So go ahead and add it to your project. And as well, once this is finished, we need to install the Ionic native package for the calendar as well. So go ahead and run this command as well. Let this finish in the background. And also a quick note, as we're using a Cordova plugin, we cannot test this functionality inside the browser. So we have to run this app on our device at the end. Anyway, let's continue with importing the calendar in the app module and then add it to the array of your providers. So that's it. Then we can go to our first page and of course add private calendar of the type calendar. So now we got it here as well. Let's also add the platform of Ionic because we will use it in the constructor and we need to make sure that the platform is ready. So this means we can use Cordova plugins. Otherwise, you might see strange results. Sometimes it might work or it might not work. So better surround it with this call if you're using it directly in the beginning. Then we can use our calendar and there are a lot of functions. We will just use a few. So first of all, let's pick list calendars. This will give us a list of all the calendars on the device. So use the promise and perhaps create variable calendars right here, which will be an array. And then when we get the data back, we can set it to our calendars. Also, let's add two more functions to this page. So add an event to a calendar, which is what we can do, or we can open a calendar as well. To open another calendar, let's create another page and call it calendar details like this. And when we want to open a calendar, we say this.navcontroller push. And we push our second page, which is the cal details page. And as the params, we send over the name of the calendar. So at this point, you can log out the information and you will see there's a name, an ID, and also the type of the calendar. To add something to your calendar, there are many things you can fill out. You can leave them out, it's completely up to you. I will just give you one example. So you can pass some options and there you could specify the calendar ID, which would be the cal ID if we clicked on a calendar. This works for I think Android, but for iOS we need the calendar name. This is a bit tricky as you might have calendars with the same name. This could result in some problems. So be aware of this. There's an open issue on the GitHub page for this plugin. But anyway, it should work for us. Of course, if you have a calendar entry, you could specify something like a URL or special notes, whatever. Or something like first reminder minutes. So the first reminder, perhaps 15 minutes before the event actually starts. Then we come to adding this event. And this will bring up the native dialog for your calendar. And we use create event interactively with options. And then you can see the parameters. First is the title. Let's say my new event. Then we got the location. I will just use my hometown. Then we got two nodes, whatever, some special nodes, completely up to you. Then we got the start date and the end date. I will just use 2 times the same date. And finally, you can add the options if you like to. And also, this is a promise again, return something not super interesting for us here, but you will see that this will bring up the calendar view. Now let's continue with the view for this calendar. Let's give it some color and say my calendars. And for the content, we will craft a simple Ion list with Ion items, and we have to iterate over all of our calendars. So let cal of calendars, perhaps they should be tappable. We have some buttons in them as well. So button, Ion button, icon only, item start, clear. So a bit complicated here, but chaining those works really nice. And this button will trigger the add event. So this will bring up the new event dialog. Therefore, let's give it an icon add. And we can copy this and put it to the end, item end, and this will open the calendar. And then we use arrow forward to display some forward action. Inside the item, we can also display the calendar name if you like to, or just for debugging, perhaps the calendar type. Okay, so this is our first view. Nothing really special in here so far. So let's continue with our details page. First of all, get rid of the stuff we don't need, and then we need a few imports. So of course we need the calendar as well on this page. Then we might need, what do we need? The platform, right? Now here's a little trick or something special we have to take care of. There are different functions for iOS and Android, and therefore we have to check if this dot platform is iOS. So in the iOS case, we have some special call we can use, or if this platform is Android, because on Android the function for iOS is not existing. So let's store the calendar name as well, and the name should be passed through our nav params. So get them from the nav params by calling get. I think we use name, right? Yes, name. And then we got the calendar name. Now we want to retrieve all the events for one calendar. And on iOS, we can simply call this.calendar find all events in named calendar. As you can see, iOS only. So here we can use our calendar name and then get some data back and say this.events equals data. For Android, this function is not there, but I was using a simple other one. So list events in range could also work. It's not really giving you the events for one calendar, but all the events in a specified range, but better than nothing, I think. So let the start date be today, and also new date, and then end set date, and dot get date plus whatever. So perhaps all the events for the next month. And then if you go back to the function, you see we got the start date, which is now start, and the end date, which is end. And again, simply use the rest of the promise like this, and then you will also be able to get some events on Android. Finally, we need the view for the details page. So remove this, make it look a bit nicer, and then we can use the calendar name as the title. And for the content, let's put them in some Ion cards and iterate over our events. right, add a little Ion card header, which could be the title of the event. And then for the Ion card content, you can list a few options. You can debug the information you get back from the calendar and see which items might be interesting for you. So let's add an Ion icon name calendar for the times. So the start time would be event.startDate. I was trying to use a pipe here, but for some reason the format of the date was, I would say, not so good. So it crashed the app. Perhaps you find a better solution. You could use Moment.js to transform the date into something more readable. But otherwise, for our example, I will just use the result we get. So this should be the view. Perhaps I might need to add something, but for now you can run Ionic, Cordova, build, iOS or Android, whatever you get. And then in a second, let's see this on a device. Once your app is deployed and starting, you can see I got a big list of all my different calendars with their options. And also I can go to the details of one calendar and see some events like Super Bowl, upcoming, or whatever with their dates on my device. Now if I click up the plus icon in front of a row, you see that a new event comes up. And this is filled with the information. So we got up here my new event, we got the city, we got a start and end date, we got the right calendar selected, we got an alert 50 minutes before the event, and also at the bottom we can see the URL and also the notes were added. And now you could add this and the event would be directly added to your calendar. So it's actually not very hard to use the calendar. There are a lot more functions like adding, deleting events, changing event data. You can find all information on the Ionic native page for the calendar plugin or the official GitHub page of the plugin. So give it a try and of course ask if you have any questions. Also, make sure to check out the ionicacademy.com if you want great training resources for Ionic and learn to build amazing Ionic apps with courses, projects, and a great community. So I hope we will see you in the next video. Have a great day and take care.